Hello and welcome. I'm Fahd Husain. Let me begin tonight with a very clear message which has come from the Pakistan's Foreign Office, and it sets the tone for everything that we are tracking. The statement says, the clock on diplomacy has not stopped. This is the official position. Islamabad says talks have not collapsed, channels remain open, proposals old and new are still on the table, and Pakistan continues to engage both Washington and Tehran in an effort to find a negotiated settlement. At the same time, Pakistan has underlined the urgency of reopening the Strait of Hormuz, calling it a critical global shipping route whose disruption is now affecting economies around the world, and stressing that any arrangement must take into account the interest of Gulf countries, particularly the GCC. So that is the diplomatic picture tonight. Engagement continues, but resolution remains elusive. Now contrast that with what is happening on the ground and in the markets. Oil has surged past 110. Shipping through the Strait of Hormuz remains severely constrained. And the US has made it clear that its naval pressure on Iran will continue until a full agreement is reached. So taken together, these are the headlines shaping the conflict tonight. Diplomacy is active, the standoff is holding, and the economic pressure is rising. And there is more. President Trump has now gone a step further, signaling plans for what he is calling a new maritime security framework in the Strait of Hormuz, effectively a system where the US would oversee and police commercial traffic until a deal is finalized. And to further complicate matters, Iran's Supreme Leader Mustafa Khamenei has said in a statement which was circulated by state media. He said, "Today, 2 months after the world's biggest campaign and aggression in the region and America's shameful failure in its own plan, a new chapter is emerging in the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz." At the same time, Trump has been actively linking this conflict with the war in Ukraine, positioning himself as a central figure in what he describes as a broader grand deal approach to global crisis. That effort was visible in a 90-minute call between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin earlier this week, one of the most direct engagements between the two since the tensions had escalated, where a temporary ceasefire in Ukraine was discussed even as Moscow warned against any further escalation in Iran. So what we are now seeing is something larger than a regional conflict. The Iran-US standoff is beginning to intersect with wider global diplomacy, with major powers positioning themselves not just around one crisis, but across multiple theaters at the same time. And all of this is unfolding against a very simple but very dangerous reality. There is no active escalation, but there is no de-escalation either. Talks are continuing, positions are holding, and both sides appear to be testing endurance rather than moving quickly towards a breakthrough. That is what makes this moment so fragile. Because in no war, no peace situation, the risk does not come from big decisions alone. It comes from miscalculation. So the question tonight is not whether diplomacy is happening. It clearly is. The question is whether it is moving fast enough to prevent the standoff from slipping into something far more dangerous. Let's discuss all of this. So to discuss this story a bit further and try and interpret where the situation stands today and where it could go, we are joined from Belgrade, Dr. Miyad Nakhavali. He is a Middle East analyst and political scientist. He's, as I said, based in Belgrade, and he is the founder of Middle East Analytica, and he specializes in the affairs of the Gulf. Dr. Nakhavali, welcome to our show.
Thank you.
So I want to start with this very important statement that has come from the spokesman of the Pakistan Foreign Office, in which he said that, quote unquote, "Let me underscore that the clock on diplomacy has not stopped." So that's a hopeful sign, Dr. Nakhavali. Are you also getting signals that things may not be as bad as they look, or are they actually quite dangerous now?
Well, actually, we know that negotiations with Iran have never stopped. We have seen many rounds of negotiations with Islamic Republic. Before Pakistan, we saw many rounds of negotiation in Oman, in Turkey, and even in Geneva. So I think while Iranians want to send clear sign that the door for diplomacy is always open, we can see also that both sides have their own red lines. While the United States is claiming that the red line for them is for Iran to hand over the enriched uranium to US and also to stop enriching in Iranian soil. We see that those are also red line for Iran, and we see that the supreme leader of Iran, Mojtaba Khamenei, is also affirming that that option is not on the table. Iran is not going to give up on its enriched uranium. Yet I think that at least in some fractions in Iran, there are more flexibilities for nuclear activities. For Pakistan talk, we have heard that Iranians, and before the war actually, Iranians said that they are ready to suspend the program, and we heard different stories whether it's going to be 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years. So while I think on that technical part, whether Iran is going to halt or stop its nuclear activities for a specific timeline, I think giving up on enrichment could be a red line in Iran, and also handing over the enriched uranium can also be a red line for Iranians.
Basically, where things stand today, the American press is reporting that President Trump is considering restarting the war or restarting attacks on Iran, and the reporting says that he will be getting a briefing on it by the CENTCOM commander. He is also saying, President Trump, that he believes that the blockade is working and that it is adding pressure on Iran. So, given your very deep knowledge of Iran, I'm also reading these reports about serious economic problems in Iran. The currency is devaluing, inflation is increasing at an alarming rate. So how bad is the economic situation inside Iran, and how important a factor would that be in terms of Iranians wanting a deal sooner rather than later?
Well, the Iranian economy is bad, and it's not the new thing for the regime in Tehran. We know that Iran has been under sanction for more than 4 decades. And in a way, it's a familiar thing to Iran. Blockading the Strait of Hormuz from US side is an additional layer to already damaged Iran. We know that it is on its oil revenue. So even listening to some of analysts, I heard that in 2 or 3 months, the Iranian economy can be totally destroyed. Yet, I think if President Trump claimed the other day that all of the options are on the table and they could come back and attack again, I think they cannot fulfill what they have already in mind. So I think even if we come back to another round of hostility between Iran, United States, and even Israel, it could be more probably focused on Strait of Hormuz and probably on those south of Iran, whether it's big or small tomb, or probably Kharg. We know that the Kharg island is one of the strategic islands of Iran, which almost 90% of Iranian oil is exported from that island. So I think while there is still a chance. Diplomacy on the other side, if the hostility is supposed to start, I think it's going to be focused on that part, but not in a bigger dimension.
But the hostilities will only start, or President Trump will only decide to go back to launching an attack on Iran if he feels that the Iranians will not bend because of economic pressure. Now, the arguments being given from the American side are that the blockade is actually working, that it is actually putting a lot of pressure on Iran, that Iran is running out of storage space for oil, and that would have a very adverse impact on Iran's economy. So, do you think that these factors that I mentioned that are being referred to repeatedly in the American media, that they are actually sources of tremendous pressure on Iran, and they could be a major factor in terms of whether the blockade is working or not working?
I think the blockade is, of course, and indeed working, but the problem is that we don't have a coherent strategy right now. We don't know who is actually running Iran. We have heard that Moshtaba Khamenei is now the man in power and he is ruling Iran. Yet we have never, from the was announced as a leader, we haven't seen him. We haven't even hear his voice. So, and we know that Iran is a country that cannot be controlled by the hidden man or a man in the basement. So that's not realistic. So we don't know who is that powerful man who is running Iran right now. We have heard that there are figures from the IRGC, Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, who are running Iran. Yet there are different people, they have different mindset about the relationship with the United States of America, with negotiation with the United States. Yet we have also other political power center. We have heard from Saeed Jalili, and actually those people also in cycle of power, that from the first day they were even against of any negotiation with the United States. We have people in Iran who are applauding on the continuation of. You have to understand that Iran, in a way, is not that rational actor in a way that the West understand. Iran is an ideological country, which even if you listen to some of the narratives, you can hear that some people are shouting at those who are negotiating with US, and they say actually that Iran has to go to war with big Satan until the last drop of their blood. And I think it's very dangerous, because now we don't have a coherent strategy. We don't know who is in charge for negotiation with the United States. And I think I feel like there is a disagreement inside Iran and inside the cycle of power, whether they have to negotiate or not, and what actually how Iran should be flexible when it comes to
because there is a feeling that there is the Iran can get a good deal, but there are people, hardliners inside Iran, who feel that no, continuing with the war would probably put them in a better position, and then ultimately, if they have to come back to the negotiating table, they should do it with in a position which is far better than where they are today. So yes, absolutely right. We also hear of these disagreements within the Iranian power structure, but also now the developments in the Gulf. Dr. Nakhavali, I would want your analysis on this. We know that the UAE has left OPEC, and there is a clear division within the Gulf countries in terms of how they're looking at this war, and the relationship between Saudi Arabia and the UAE, of course, it is no secret that they've had a tense relationship. So with this latest development and dangers of the peace being elusive, how important a role will Saudi Arabia be playing at this stage? What do you think the Saudi leadership would be telling President Trump, and what would they be telling Iran? Because we know there are contacts between them, also via Pakistan. What would be the ideal situation for Saudi Arabia, and how would they want to use their influence to find an outcome that also suits them at this stage?
Well, we know that before the war started, while Saudi Arabia was claiming that they are actually trying to find a way, peaceful way between U.S. and Iran, now for sure we know that they have been motivating United States, maybe as much as Israel did, to attack Iran. And this is not new. We know that some years ago, the Saudi prince sent a message to U.S. and they asked them to remove the head of the snake. So we know that for a long time, Saudi Arabia really wanted to diminish the threat which is coming from Iran. Yet, when the war started, not only Saudi Arabia, but also other countries of the Persian Gulf saw that it's not Iran which is falling right away. The idea was to kill the supreme leader in Iran, and it was a thought that the regime in Iran is like a hierarchy. So when you kill the supreme leader, the regime will fall down. But in time, we saw that the Iranian regime seemed to be like a, let's say, a nerve network. So when you remove one nerve, the other nerve can continue with the communication, with the command system. And we saw that the regime didn't fall. So now probably Saudi Arabia will find a way through United States, or I think it's even better through China, negotiate with Iran and to guarantee the balance of power in the Middle East, because in a way I think they are now assured that Iranian regime is not going to be gone. So when it comes to the UAE and Saudi Arabia, they are also rivals for a long time, and it's not just about the oil. We know that they're both the hub for technology, for AI centers, and they used to be rivals for a long time. And it seems that now we can see more divisions between them. We can see that the long-time golden coalition between the Persian Gulf countries is gone. Let's not forget that just some years ago, I think it was 2017 or 2018, that Qatar was totally isolated by the Persian Gulf countries, by Saudi Arabia. So I think there is no sort of coalition between these countries. And after the war between Iran, US, and Israel, I think we will see more division between these countries, and probably we are going to be even more active role of China and the Middle East, and especially in those countries.
And that's a big change that this war has triggered. And I agree with you, Dr. Nakhavali, that this major change will happen, and I think the Gulf will be a very different place once this conflict ends. We are very grateful for your time. Thank you so much for sharing your analysis with us.
Thank you very much for having me.